Just a second. Something's amiss over here. Where's the UI? UI. There we go. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we got audio. That's good. Now time to change the radio back. Then we'll be good to proceed. All right, which one? Let's go with DK today. Should all be good to go at this point? All right. Yep, that's it. So, I got the... I should have gotten the next part of the website operational. We were having problems last night, understandably so. There were a whole lot of updates that took place. I spent most of today fixing that and hunting down bugs. It was way longer than I was expecting. So it should be operational. I don't know how many people are going to utilize it for the near future, but it's something where I think people will start to understand later on some of the potential. But it may take a little while to get there. This is the biggest investment that I've ever made into projects. It's either the best idea ever or the worst idea ever. Probably more towards the worst idea ever. We'll find out. All right, well, tonight we're going to start off just by doing some sketches and proceed from there. Howdy there, Hop. How you doing? It's been a busy day over here. Projects took way longer today than I was expecting, and so I spent most of it hunting for bugs, you could say. And hopefully this is like the last major day I had to do that. We'll see. Time will tell. What'd the day hold for you today? Last night I got to go to last night I got to go to a baseball game, and first one I've been to in a long time. And Alaska is not necessarily known for having great sport opportunities, and so it's definitely a kind of a one and done sort of thing for the year. But there might be stuff for hockey later on. We'll have to see. At least you were not idle. Indeed. One of the things that was taking me so long today to figure out, this may seem very trivial to some folks, but it was actually very, very difficult. It had to do with this right here. the ability to change icons. And right now it's kind of bugged right here because there's still a little bit of a problem. You still see it in the top left corner of the of this window here. But anyway, that was one of the big problems I was fighting with, as well as trying to fix some other problems with the website here and there. Now that that stuff is more or less finished, I am now in the process of trying to get the content that's going to be going on to there, of which I mentioned most of it last night. At least the first wave of stuff. There's a couple other projects that have been secret for many, many years, and those now actually have the possibility of being done now that there is a platform. So I look forward to getting a chance to share it with you all over this year and into the next. Very, very big investment, and fortunately, it was not a costly investment. I mean, it cost time, but for those of you out there that could either invest time or money, a lot of people would rather invest time because it's a little bit more affordable for us. But there's a certain threshold where you hit where you suddenly go from being having an excess of time to having an excess of money. Some people reach that point and then they start hiring a bunch of people. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that time is the most valuable thing, and thus it should always be the thing that you give of yourself whenever possible. But that being said, I actually reached out to a couple of folks recently to try and figure out some commissions, because I know some artists that have been looking for some projects as of late, and I suddenly can no longer keep up with some of the demands. So I'm just reaching that threshold. I always want to do things with my own time, regardless of what stage of life I'm in. You know, last night there were a couple of people that went out to see fireworks, and I'm sure fireworks were probably in the areas that you all lived in. And there's one challenge, though, up here in Alaska that makes it kind of a ho-hum event. No one really gets excited for fireworks up here. The reason why is because it's daylight. And so when the fireworks go off, you can't see them. You just see a bunch of smoke. You just piff, smoke. Our Christmas fireworks are actually better. One of the challenges with trying to now get up to speed with all the other projects is now I have to change my mindset. And I've noticed that over the last couple of years, my ability to switch projects quickly has gotten a lot more difficult. It's still possible, but I've officially hit the age where that's starting to become more of a challenge. And fortunately, I can still be able to shift around with projects relatively easily, but I just have to take about a day to kind of really shift into different gears. And so one of the things I've starting to do again is starting to do more artwork, because a lot of the projects are going to involve artwork. So the next few days, I'm probably going to be doing quite a bit of that. We got a variety of artwork that needs to be done, both on stream and also off of stream. And so that's what this sketch right here is. It's a practice sketch that might have purpose in the future, and that's why I'm kind of drawing the character Sven from the Snowball character. Still got to figure out how to get the first story out, because I have it storyboarded, and it's actually it's a simple little story, but it is going to be a bit complex. Guess who's back, says Veluxy. Greetings, Veluxy. How are you doing? How was your 4th of July? But anyway, so I have it all I have the episode storyboarded. I just have to get the opportunity to update the rig, and that will probably happen this fall. So I have the Lego animation that has to happen first. Then it's going to be finishing up the work for the book, and then it will be going on to this animation. I'm starting to take too long doing that. Gotta speed this up. One of the good things about this character is that it's fairly simple to be able to add in the bulk of his form, just because it's a bulky jacket. And in doing so, it makes it something that takes probably about half the amount of time that it would take if it was a normal figure. Maybe even faster than that, honestly. Just because you can be able to fake so much of it, of the bulk, just by adding a little bit of puff to like the sleeves or whatnot. This right here is a character that I was starting to animate a couple years ago. I have a short, well, I have a couple of shorts about this character already figured out. Right now there's about 3 that's like just about ready to be made. I just need the time to be able to do that. And so now that I finished some major projects for the channel as a whole, now I can start considering how to actually pull this one off again. So let's change the color on this back one here so it makes it a little bit easier to sketch. Okay, there we go. So let's bring in this one. Yeah, there we go. A nice hard chiseled brush. But this this character has already has a 3D rig. 2 episodes are storyboarded from start to finish, and a third one is mostly storyboarded. I wanted to be able to dive into this character immediately, but I didn't know how to pull it off. I showed this last night, but I'll bring it up again. There's a character that I took a brief bit of time to experiment with. And I learned finally how to fix the rig. But I had to do it on a completely different project. So, this is a weird character, okay? But I learned a lot from it. Okay, here's the render. Very simple, very tacky. Okay, here we go. I know, it leaves one uninspired. Trying to do this right here is actually very challenging. And so I had to figure out how to do it because I needed to learn how to fix having bulky items, having bulky clothing. So like pants, shirt, jacket, boots, things like that. So by doing that, I learned how to pull off the Sven character a lot better because I only knew how to do really the Lego stuff, and now I know how to do quite a bit more. $11. That's interesting. Now, one of the things that you'll notice with a character is that you can have there's a lot of creative liberties you can take, but really does require some breaking in the rules. With a character like this, you can have everything all kind of set up and be very realistic, but the best way to go about it is to actually add a little bit of style. And then they actually start to feel more natural. It's kind of unique there. I remember seeing a cartoon where somebody showed how you could actually have a character feel more natural just by having the form exaggerated. So one of the things that they would do is, like, if you want to have the character show more energy, you would do something like this, which is completely illogical, but it actually looks better on camera. Hopefully, I would love to be able to do a 2D version of this one day, but I don't have that bandwidth, so I can only really do 3D for the time being. But one day, it'd be great to actually try and do two-dimensional animations, of which I would love to do the beaver animations that I've been wanting to kind of do for a long, long time. Larmer Jackson's edit. I'm unfamiliar with that. Huh. Do expand. By the way, for those that were here for the raid that we did yesterday, you might remember the individual that we went to and kind of the challenge that he's going through. I want to remind folks about this because it's actually a very important thing to remember. Some people go through very, very hard times, and sometimes they just need someone to listen. Sometimes they just need a word of encouragement. The person that we went to last night is one such person. He needed encouragement. And it reminded me, though, of another guy that we came across a couple years ago who also needed encouragement. Hello and good night. I have to hit the sack. Greetings, Bastion. Rest well, sir. Thanks for stopping by. But it is important to remember to show mercy and kindness, even if people are especially if people are distraught. And the guy that we came across last night is somebody that I would put in the distraught category. While you can have 1,001 things to tell someone like that, the right amount of the right thing sometimes is just to stay silent and listen. And I did that for the majority of last night, but I gotta say it was a tough one because there's a lot of things I wanted to say. But I remember people I've come across in the past that have had similar sort of challenges. So just a reminder, just because you know how to overcome something doesn't always mean that somebody wants to hear it or needs to hear it at the time. And you don't know where people are in that journey, and you just got to listen and be considerate whenever you can. You have to show civility. And in doing so, you'll start to find opportunities to actually help folks. You won't know when that time is necessary. Not until somebody asks for it. And then, well, then you can try and ease them into a solution. But again, some people won't want that solution. USA. It does remind me that when I was growing up, I was never, I spent so much time overseas, I really came to appreciate our nation from an early stage. But I could easily see myself getting discouraged if I had not gotten a chance to travel overseas. I can definitely say that travel can help to broaden one's expectations, and it can help you to get a different appreciation for the life you've been given, the location you've been born into. There's a lot of people in this world that I would dare say need a chance to travel and experience somewhere else so they can actually get an appreciation. But I have known some people that end up traveling and they don't actually learn. But those that do, that travel and like really wholeheartedly embrace the journey, they come back changed, completely different people. And but if you don't get changed, then you might come back and you might become bitter. And I've met some people that became bitter when they went overseas and they came back and all they had was anger. And I asked them why, and they couldn't figure it out. They were just, something had snapped in them. Which is a reminder that if you're in pain, kind of like the guy we saw last night, sometimes, even if you get to see the consequences of an action, of a location, of an idea, you're not going to actually acknowledge it because you're in the moment of pain, the moment of frustration. Okay, that was an interesting quick sketch. Actually, before we do this, let's just broaden the eyebrows a little bit. Okay, so that was a warm-up sketch. Now on to the actual project. Where is that? Oh, yeah, bingo. Why can I not see that? I don't know. Is that you? No, not quite. Now, this one is kind of slightly based upon myself, mostly because I was trying to figure out a reference and I just had a mirror. So this is the last session that we're going to be drawing this on the tablet. Next time is going to be on the art table. Hopefully, it is going to be two session drawing experience, but we'll have to wait and see. It may not necessarily pan out that way. All right. One of the challenges of trying to do this on that you can have for the art table is the let's see here. You definitely want to get your trace. Oh, just a second. Elemental, greetings, Elemental. How are you doing? Welcome. The art table is going to be fairly easy kind of set up, but I just have to get the camera kind of re-angled because it's kind of a weird angle to have to work with. A setup tour? In what way are you referring to, Veluxi? Let's see here. Be back in just a second. By the way, one of the things that Milo embodies is a sense of the of a patient man. Now, here's a question for you. In our world right now, do we value patience anymore? Do we value grace? Do we value kindness? I can almost guarantee you that most of us don't. Yeah, precisely. We don't. But here's the thing. It's not gone. All we need to do is to be able to actually, you could say, calm our hearts down, calm our souls down, and to start to become reflective. There are a great many people in this world that are going to be flighty, that are going to jump to conclusions, that are going to overreact. But here's the thing. When other people want you to overreact, refuse to comply, take a step back, and disappoint. Because if you try and join the flightiness, you might make a huge, huge mistake. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a guy who was trying to get people riled up. And in doing so, he made things very destructive for both himself as well as those around him. To him, it didn't matter. To him, it was a sort of game to cause problems, to stir up people, to get them agitated, get them angry. But didn't actually help anybody. It made things worse. And so some people thought that they would kind of jump in on that whole ordeal. They would become flighty as well. But in doing so, they would kind of feed into his mistake. They would start to join him in his mistake. And thus, multiple people ended up getting into serious trouble as a result. And those that just stepped back, who refused to comply, were spared. It's kind of a reminder for us that we need to be able to what the? $127 million in debt, Veluxy? Somehow I kind of doubt that one. That would be an awful lot of money. And I don't think most people have that ability to get into that much debt. Unless, of course, you come from a very rich family, which then that is completely possible. But I kind of doubt that. But getting flighty about stuff, getting flighty about things can make things worse for folks. And one of the things about Milo's character when I was doing the role play is he was a bit of a wet blanket. There was people going all around causing all sorts of problems, and he was a wet blanket. And interestingly enough, sometimes there's actually a lot to be said for a person that is a wet blanket in your group, because it helps to keep people calm, helps to level people out. So if you come across somebody who is calm, don't mock them. Instead, try and see if there's something you can learn from them. I wonder if I want to tease that one just yet. We'll see. Something else about people that can be flighty is that they can stir themselves up into a frenzy. And I've actually seen a couple people that do this. They are completely calm folks. And over a series of days, weeks, sometimes years, they slowly start to snap. There's a way to calm it down. Some people think that they can just take medication and it will all go away. That doesn't help. I can definitely say that because I've seen how that can impact people. But allowing yourself to kind of go mad is a horrible, horrible decision. And there are people in this world that actively try and pursue the act of becoming mad. So it's something to remember, something to avoid. Because you never know. You never know what sort of person you're training yourself to become. Actually, no, I don't want to reveal that just yet. They'll get revealed the story. So there's a couple of things about it that you don't want to necessarily have people pick up on just yet. So we'll do this. There we go. That should be good. Yeah, that should be enough. I want to refine some of the stuff here in the middle. I'm not sure necessarily what. So you'll see over on the bottom left of the stream, you'll see the updated stream radio. And one of the things you'll see also is that there is now the ability to do some of the redeems straight from by utilizing the text that appears at the top. Now I'm having a couple of problems with the account system, but it does work in, for the most part. There's just a couple of glitches here and there on that. So, but one of the things that you'll see also is that there is a promo area. The promo helps to give people a kind of idea of some of the projects that are coming out. Now, I won't necessarily talk about every last one of them, but there is one that I want to kind of bring up, and that is the one that says Milo and the Demon Bear. Now, that story is been in the works for a long time, and we're getting close to kind of wrapping it up. There's a couple of big story elements that kind of have to still be figured out and refined before it's good to go. But you will see a couple of updates over there. So for those that do get kind of curious about that sort of stuff and like seeing it, it's going to be just over there. It'll be out of the way for the most part. And I want to get it to where it pops up every now and again and it goes down after a while. That's a relatively easy piece of code to figure out, but got a ways more to go until it's at that stage. That might be something I update towards the later part of summer. Okay, that's good. Let's see, what else do I need to add into here? Maybe I should draw the figures down here. Now, there's a couple of story elements that will be seen in Milo and the Demon Bear. A couple of them that you won't hear about for a while longer. It's one of the problems of coming up with a story is that you have to be in the process of trying to refine it. And so a lot of ideas you have in your head, you know how it's all supposed to pan out, but you don't know until it takes like a couple of years to kind of achieve that. This is a good brush right here because it's rough enough that allows for some imagination along the way. Kind of helps to add some details that don't really look so great up close, but when you pull back, it actually starts to act like it's texture. So a couple of years back, there was a guy. This guy will remain nameless. If you were around for that time frame, you know who it is. But there was a guy who he decided he wanted to take sport at trying to cause people harm. And he was a sad individual, honestly. I don't know what was wrong with him. But he had this mentality that he wanted to see if he could cause people grief. And he was successful. He caused a lot of people grief, including myself. It took a couple of years to finally kind of recover from it because of just the sort of approach that he took to it. And he ended up doing it to several other people as well, which is a great tragedy because he didn't learn his lesson. Instead, he found it as a sort of entertainment for himself. I've always been wary about that sort of stuff ever since then, because you can have honorable intentions, and someone can have unhonorable intentions. You can try and be above reproach as much as possible. You can try and be as kind as possible, as caring as possible. And you still come across people that mean ill. It's one of the reasons why I ended up being very careful with a lot of my social media as of late. Well, not as of late, for the last couple of years, ever since this happened. But there's a lot of folks that could easily have helped him to veer off of his path. Sadly, he didn't want to, and it caused him to lose a whole lot of opportunities, a whole lot of friends. Now, I never followed up with any sort of, I never tried to get even with him. But I gotta say, I kind of wish I had spoken up more, because he ended up hurting other people as a result, because he felt emboldened. So thus raises kind of the question, if you come across somebody who is uncivil and has absolutely no desire to want to fix himself, to do what is right, how do you reason with someone like that? Yes, I did take a lot of inspiration from that for the concept of Milo being a civil man cast out among very uncivil men. A lot of it actually was sparked off of that sort of experience. Life experiences can be tough, but if you learn from it, that's the main takeaway. That guy never had any sort of intentions of actually solving his trying to fix himself. He didn't want to be fixed. But what's interesting is that someone could spend their whole life wanting that person to be fixed. Because honestly, it would be nice. Someone gets corrected. Someone avoids doing what's wrong. But the more important thing is whether or not you're going to change as a result. Someone can do wrong. There's always people that are going to have a grievance. The most important thing is whether or not you're going to rise above it and actually learn from it, to repent yourself and say, I want to change for the better. You know what? I know it was probably a joke, but the thing that Veluxy mentioned about the debt reminded me about something that I heard a while back. And that was that we are living in a generation that doesn't understand the danger of debt. Here's something to remember. Debt is one of the most destructive forces in your life. the need to pay it off is something we all should be trying to do. But there are a lot of people in this world who never quite understood how risky it can be to live in debt. If you live in debt, you are a slave to the lender. Now, not entirely. You have the ability to break free. But it's important to be able to make a stand and say, you know what? I'm not going to be a slave to the finances. It takes a long time to beat back debt. And right now we have more debt in our country than ever before. Individuals in our country have more debt than ever before. But the most important thing that we can do to help correct our society is to start to live within our means. Someone asked if I wanted to buy a house a while back, and I said, well, while it would be nice, I can't afford it. And so I ended up doing renting. And as a result, I feel like there is actually now the ability to pursue dreams. Not necessarily anything that's great or anything like that, but it's something where you feel the freedom when you are free from debt. When we get the opportunity, we should always try to pay off our debt whenever possible. And we should also refuse to go into debt whenever possible. Because our life will end up being a lot more freer if we do so. There's a guy that I know. He spends about $6,000 to $10,000 all the time to go to amusement parks. Now, this is I mean all the time. I mean like 2 times a year. But he does not have the ability to pay for that. In fact, his finances are horrible. But to him, it's not a big problem. Now, I could never do that because that would be way too much money. That would be incredibly wasteful for someone like myself because, you know, you go broke in a moment. But it also doesn't save for the future. It doesn't look to the future and say, hey, you know what? I can be able to find, the opportunity to save and start to improve things for one's family. If you only focus on yourself, it becomes problematic in more ways than one. And for the guy that I know, he's been spending so much doing that sort of stuff. I kind of wonder what it's going to be like when he finally has kids. Now, I kind of don't think he's going to have kids, which is unfortunate. I think most folks should have kids. But he's not somebody who's probably going to financially be able to afford it if he keeps doing that. So one day he's going to have to figure out how to live within his means. It might be a very, very difficult time for him. Most likely he's not going to like that sort of transition. But it's going to have to happen one day. The guy that I mentioned about earlier, the one that didn't have the self-control, do we, as a society, do we have a problem with self-control? Back in the olden days, it was considered a pinnacle of a gentleman to be able to have self-control in all manners, to be able to do what was right in all manners, regardless of what happened. He had to be able to hold himself. Well, that was for a very different society. And I've been pondering this for a while because so many people in our culture have become uncivil to the point of where they are, to where sometimes to show mercy and kindness starts to invite harassment. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the harassment? How do you deal with the problems? If our society has changed, how does one maintain that sense of calm, that sense of peace, a sense of civility? Well, here's one way. Disconnect. That's one of the easiest ways to kind of help. Disconnect, and because you cannot reason with somebody who is out of control. You have to wait for them to calm down. Now, an honorable man disconnects whenever it is possible, but he also stands up when others are in danger. A good man protects others. Online culture has very much encouraged people to lose themselves. Get out of control because, it's possible. It causes a lot of grief. Being able to control yourself is a sign that you are truly able to overcome all sorts of terrible, difficult circumstances. Now, it's a very difficult thing, and most people don't know how to do it. And many of us are still trying to learn. It was a lot easier back in the olden days. People had a sense of honor and decorum. You didn't have to worry about people losing their minds. Not in the same way they do nowadays. If you were to grab George Washington and bring him to the modern era, considered one of the great gentlemen of his era, I think he would not know what to do with himself. I think he would be very discouraged and distraught with the country he would see if he was to be transported to the modern day. I think he would become overwhelmed. I think we kind of forget. Living in an era gives you a sense of navigating that world in a way that no other person in history would be able to do. Us growing up in this era has given us the ability to deal with this era. Now, I would personally prefer if we were dealing with almost any other era in history. I don't like this modern era, but I've been placed in this modern era, as have you. And we have that opportunity to be able to try and make a difference whenever we can. Greetings there, Bizmaster. How are you doing? He also wouldn't die from bloodletting, probably from stress-related heart problems instead. Indeed. What have you been up to, Bizmaster? We're just trying to finalize this sketch. This is going to be going to the art table here, probably next stream. Not tomorrow, but the next stream I actually end up doing this. Just in the process of adding some details so that I know what will work when I actually get to the actual paper. Just got home from the movies. Family outing. Hey, glad you got a chance to do that. I was talking with some folks a while back about just how important it is to be able to have family activities. And it is kind of weird that used to be considered like standard run-of-the-mill stuff. Everyone was expected to do it. Nowadays, it's not always guaranteed. There's a lot of people that don't do anything. They just go out and they pull up their cell phones and they call it quits. How goes your art these days? When I was over there last, you were working on a commission, I believe. Do a lot of work for Emperor. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I used to remember like commissions being everywhere, like the ability to do commissions. That has disappeared a lot over the last couple of years. I wonder why. Yeah, it couldn't possibly be that people have started to have problems competing across the globe. And the problem of AI. Ugh. There's a guy that I used to follow. He was actually commissioning a lot of artists. And then one day he just stopped. And that was the day that AI started to come into his world. He abandoned all of his artistic friends, including his own family members. Again, he used to commission several people. Not anymore. Well, I've known many people in that sort of category. It's a very sad thing to see. I'm glad that there's a lot of people that have been resisting it, though. This last week has been a busy one trying to wrap up some projects and trying to get old ones rekindled. This is one that started last year and he got put on the shelf for a long time, and now we're finally getting a chance to come back and do it. But it is great to be able to get back to the swing of artwork. Been far too long that I wasn't able to do it for a variety of reasons. Greetings there, Breathe of Edits. All right, Breath of Edits. How you doing? I think you're new to this neck of the woods, if I recall correctly. Can you draw anime? Yes, I'm not very good at it, mostly because I haven't practiced it. I do cartoons sort of stuff. I have done 2D animations in the past. It's a bit all over the place. I gave anime a try a while back, and I take inspiration off of that for stuff like this. But it's with a different flair. It's kind of like with an old-fashioned American comic sort of flair to it. So it's somewhere in the middle of the anime, of the manga and the American cartoons. I got a couple of anime stuff down pretty well, and all I needed to do was like repetition, but not quite. Can you make Tom from Tom and Jerry? Yes, I can do quite a few characters like that because I understand like the core of what goes into making them. Anime is a little bit more difficult because the figures are a lot more structured, and it's one of the reasons why I think they hold up pretty well in terms of the ability to go into both stylized and also realism. Are you an artist yourself, Breath of Edits? And if so, what is your preferred art? I'm terrible when it comes to scenery. Slowly but surely I've been getting better at it for nature settings, but buildings and structures, horrible when it comes to that sort of stuff. For whatever reason, it just never clicked. I know the rules of how to draw this sort of stuff, but it just feels so very unnatural compared to what other people's building structures will end up looking like. Good drawing, much appreciated. As any artist would say, I'm always looking to improve. The best piece of artwork that I've done are pretty few. I want to try and get better and actually do them on a regular basis, but for the last couple of months, that has not really been possible. I'm trying to turn that around, though. Now, there have been a couple of projects where I ended up doing a whole lot of drawings, and it was for actually for animations. The most animation work that I've done was for Moonskull. Moonskull ended up being a pretty good batch of projects to work on. I'm still doing a couple things here and there for him. But it is something where, as I was drawing the most recent project, I was like, man, I need to just get into that repetition sort of mindset. And one of the things I've learned is that you got to start out with with just like random sketches that you're just going to do. So like this was tonight's, just like, hey, just quickly draw a character and proceed like that. What app do you draw on? This one is Clip Paint Studio. Now, Clip Paint Studio is a great tool. It's become my favorite drawing tool out there. Other people are big fans of, I think it's Procreate. People use Photoshop. Not a fan of Photoshop myself. Bizmaster does pixel art, and so he has a completely different program as well. But in terms of doing cartoon and animation sort of stuff, Clip Paint's affordable and pretty easy to use. One of the best things is that you can be able to keybind everything that you need to this little device. Now, this one I purchased just a keypad and have been using this, but you can't actually get everything to fit onto here for the most part. Photoshop was not nearly as friendly when I was doing the artwork. And one of the great things about this one, you can actually draw vector and fill it without vector, with raster. That is something they figured out way early on, and Photoshop struggled with. It still struggles with it, as I understand. For how many years are you drawing? Quite a lot, actually. The collection of artwork that I've done over the years is all over the place. Let's see here. A couple of years ago, I finally started posting art to Instagram. And so this is where I've been putting stuff as of late. Like here's a simple one I did, is just a little postcard drawing. And I'm trying to get better at doing nature sort of stuff. Here's a goofy little beaver with a snorkel. With a breathing apparatus for underwater. Done some 2D animations, 3D animations. This one is a simple one I did over the Christmas break, so nothing too fancy. But there's other ones where, like here's scenes from the 2D animation I got to do for Dawn of Defiance, which was the Moonskull project. But yeah, there's a lot of different styles I've gotten to explore over the years. I'm never satisfied unless I get a chance to kind of to dabble in different projects. And here's another sketch I did from a while back. Fairly simple one, but again, it took me 45 minutes for this one. Definitely could have done it faster, but I was out of practice when I did that. Here's one of my first attempts to try and do a comic. It did not turn out so well. I mean, the story was pretty good, but it just wasn't quite what I was hoping it would be. Here's some pictures of the drawing process I did for Milo, of which this is a very this is what I kind of want to be for the book cover in the future. We'll see if that actually happens. But yeah, Instagram is a good place to be able to see some of that stuff. By the way, this goes for artists out there right now, but feel free to share your links. I neglect to kind of mention that for so many other people keep reminding people to do that, and I'm like, dang it, I need to be doing that as well. So if you have stuff that you want to be able to share, feel free. I need something over here. It just feels too empty. But what? What from the past that can go in this area? Actually, I better wait on that one. I do want to put something there. What? I don't know. What about up here? This area right here could use something. A transition point. Because right now the story goes in this sort of arc. So finding transition points between them, like this one, works. But I want to find something for this area over here. Something just to, because so much of this is taken up by the fence and just an empty gap. Actually, maybe I can just start by pulling this in over here. This is one of the reasons why I'm drawing this on the tablet, and then it will end up being put onto paper later on, because it makes it a little bit easier. How about I just do that? Yeah, I'll just close this area off a little bit, tighten it up. Earlier, I was starting to mention about the importance of being able to have self-control when it comes to a variety of matters. The internet has become a place of horrible, horrible acts that have taken place. And sadly, I feel like the more that the younger people are on the internet, the more severe it can damage people. And we have the ability to break free of it. But it takes some patience. It takes some ability to be self-reflective. And you can't really be self-reflective if you are trapped online. So one of the things I've been about is trying to figure out ways to help get people engaged in the real world again. Now, not everyone's going to have that ability. There's a lot of people that just is not really a possibility at the here and now. But there are a lot of areas that we can be able to start to reach out and find ways to engage our local community again. One of those ways that we can be able to do that is just by being present for those around us. Think about the number of times that you're like, boy, I wish that my friend would show up at this event. Now, some people, when people don't show up, they're like, fine, I just won't show up. That's not very helpful. It doesn't make things better. Just as you lashing out. You have the ability to reach out and help. Be the friend that you kind of wish others would be. To be the helping hand to people when you once wanted to have someone come along and help you. We have that ability, but we have to be willing to give of ourselves. Now, it's not easy, and I confess I'm not very good at that myself. But it's still important to try and do. I look forward to seeing how this looks on paper, because some of the things are probably going to look far better on the paper. Some of them are going to look better digitally. And I'm going to be doing touch-ups on it digitally if problems ensue. But I want to try and have it as natural as possible to the actual paper and whatnot. Okay, what other Easter eggs need to be added in? I think we're probably good on the Easter eggs. Come to think of it. And the merger of the different scenes here, that's probably good enough. So we will save that one for later on. So let's save that scene. And for ending off, we'll go back and do another sketch over here. I want to try another technique here. I wanted to test something, so wait and see if that came across correctly. Yeah, it did come across. Perfect. You know, I mentioned earlier that we seem to be heading towards well, not necessarily heading towards, but we have been having a problem of our nation falling into a sense of madness. So here's a thought. how do you stop oneself from going down a path of madness? Because it seems to be that a lot of people are struggling with this. They feel like they're losing control in many, many aspects. And while I'm not necessarily an expert on this matter, I do know that I have been observing this problem for far too long. And it seems to be without end. People just do not want to have self-control. Well, there's a couple ways you can be able to help to solve it in your own life. And one of the things is you have to stop utilizing substances. I've been thinking about this one for a long time because I notice the people that are the most troubled by the things in this world are the people that are using some form of substance, whether it's alcohol, whether it's tobacco products, or whether it's weed or whatnot. And I know that's incredibly controversial for especially the web, because there's a lot of people that really like that stuff. But it's also incredibly damaging. Another thing is medications. I've seen enough medications do terrible things to people. And I am not necessarily anti-medication, but I'm pretty darn close. I think that pain is part of life. And the more we try and run from it, the more problems start to ensue. Well, the reason I want to bring that up is because there are a lot of people in this world that will come along and say, take the easy route. Just escape it. Just use a substance and escape the problems. Use a medication and escape problems. But here's the thing. There's always a cost for that stuff. And it is a cost to the mind. There was a guy that I got to observe a while back where he was in horrible, horrible pain. But not physical pain, emotional pain. As a result, he decided to start utilizing weed. And I could see in real time, and as could others, his world falling apart. The weed took a problem that was manageable and made it terrible. To be able to solve the problem, he would have to get rid of the one thing that he had come to rely upon, weed. Alaska is full of people who are suffering from weed. A whole lot of people are suffering from alcohol. And a lot of them, I can't help but wonder if they got started because they were trying to escape a problem and thus ended up being trapped by it. Well, the other day, this is what made me think about this. The other day, I saw somebody come into the town and they were looking for work. And it was in the local area and the guy was looking for work, but he was a heavy drug user. And you could tell it just by the way he walked. And a lot of people were like, no, we can't employ you. And so he was getting very discouraged. But the one thing he wasn't willing to give up, as I understand, because I didn't necessarily have any conversations with this guy or whatnot, was that he would refuse to give up the alcohol and the weed. The one thing that was keeping him from being able to get a job. If he was to give that stuff up, he would have been employed in a moment. I do believe that. There's a lot of people up here in Alaska that want to be able to help. But when it comes to weed and alcohol, it's destructive, and our communities know that far too well. And so thus, there's going to be less likely to give people like that help when they need it. But there's still a lot of people that are doing their best to try and assist. One of them is a church mission that's up here. and they do that sort of stuff all the time. They help out people that are in need. They try and help give them the ability to stand on their own 2 feet once again. We'll wrap this up after this sketch is done. A bit of an echo there. Much appreciated there, Bizmaster. Very kind. I think that's the first subscription we've had in about a year. Much appreciated, sir. Very kind. That's silly you can't wrap a stream. Break the drought, yeah. I thought I disabled those alerts. Mostly because I didn't need them for the stream radio. And so, it's kind of interesting. I completely forgot that I even had that enabled. I'm terrible at watching streams. I'm constantly moving away from the PC or being distracted. Hey, you know what? Dad life is the life. Never apologize for putting family first. The fact that you give me any time of day is enough, but you should never feel that you are captive to the online world. Life is too important to live in the real world to sacrifice that for the online. I apologize to me for it instead. Indeed. We'll be doing something tomorrow. I'm not really sure what. I may be pulling up one of the other old projects to work on. We will not be doing the art table just yet. I got to get something else squared away, but I do want to try and do that before the next week is over. So we're gonna break out the art table. I got to get it cleaned up. Got to get all that stuff reorganized. But we'll be doing some of that. Probably on Monday or Tuesday, something like that. Tomorrow I should have a couple more features re-enabled on the website, by the way. One of the things that's going to be hopefully operational tomorrow, which it technically is right now, but I got to figure something. I have to do a couple more stress tests. But the ability to utilize it for the activating the sounds and whatnot, that is technically there, already good to go. Just got to do another couple of tweaks. But then for the rest of the week, I'm going to be doing two things: art table stuff, as well as the book. The book is the main focus for this break, because I do have a couple of days off. Hopefully being able to actually really get some good headway on that stuff. Man, that did not turn out very good. That looks horrible. I much rather prefer this first one. At least looks better. This one, I was trying to be a bit too... I was just building along the way and didn't realize how bad looking it is. Oh well, that happens. But at least this one turned out well. So, that's why the other ones are just sketches, practicing things. Well, we're going to call it there. I'm going to see if there is currently any place we can do raids for tonight. No. Okay, nope. Nothing over there. Man, it has gotten hard to raid these days. This is where we need Bizmaster to go live. Alright, doesn't look like there's anybody we immediately... I'm going to do a quick little scroll through here, see if there's anything that we could be able to go to. I do take suggestions as well. What? There's somebody who's got a live stream of a bee farm? That's interesting. Golly. By the way, that reminds me of the guy that was my mentor for a summer, and he got attacked by killer bees. Poor fella. Disappeared for 2 weeks and no one knew where he was. And then we found out afterwards that he had been attacked by killer bees. Dang it. Poor fella. Wish we had known. Man, there's so many weird art channels out there. One-eyed bunny. One-eyed bunny. Oh, lo and behold, there is such a person as a one-eyed bunny. Poor bunny. Got wounded, apparently. Yeah, let's give that a shot. Much appreciated there for the suggestion, as well as for the subscription earlier, Bizmaster. They're in my Discord community and post quite often. Well then, I think that is where we will be heading. Alright folks, so we're going to be wrapping up for tonight. I'm going to try and figure out the Rumble stream raid here in a moment. But we'll send off the Twitch side first, and then we will send off the Rumble side. To the rest of you folks, have a very pleasant evening and morning, everybody. Be civil to one another. No matter what you're going through in life, try and be civil to one another. And we will see you all next time. Night Bizmaster, Night Haw, Night everybody else who is currently still there. And we will see you all next time. Okay, starting the raid. I think this is the first raid we've done in Twitch in about 3 weeks, roughly. One-eyed bunny. Oh, wait a minute. That's what's going on. There we go. All right, starting the raid. Heading on over there in 5, 4. Wait a minute. Why is that not working? Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that is now operational. There we go. Okay, now the Rumble side. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Okay, we're looking for art. Bees are mean? Exactly, ha. They're very mean. We know like the bees. Well, unless you're, they're honey making bees. Killer bees, not a fan. Come on. Dang, there's nothing on Rumble. Not surprising. Well, we're just going to end it there. So, we'll just call it quits there. All right, until next time, folks, have a very pleasant evening.